all in all, it was an ugly, unfortunate weekend for the Yankees. They lose in a slot fest. We talked about this one on Friday's show, 6-3 on Thursday. 1-0 nail biter on Friday night. The only run comes on a Connor Wong RBI double. I believe that's his third or fourth RBI of the year. Jordan, please check that. Game 3 was the Trevor Story game with the Red Sox winning 12-1. They explode for a whole bunch of runs in the top of the ninth. There's another bizarre Anthony Volpe error. Gerrit Crochet looks incredible, striking out 11. Only blemish is Stanton home run. And then in game 4, with the mop on the line, Dustin May, the reddest sock, cannot get the job done. Jazz homers twice. Grisham homers twice. Rodon does enough to give the Yankees a win. Takeaways from this series, Jordan Shusterman.
6th RBI for Connor Wong on the season, which is pretty amazing considering how long he's been. I guess this is only his 49th game, but still, that is not a lot of runs driven in. But he gave them one when they needed it on Friday. And yes, this series is really the ultimate test of how good can you take a Sunday victory. I mean, this is just the nature of the sport and kind of the fan experience with weekends. I've seen many a meme about this, like what is the ideal format of a series victory here? And I'm sure the Red Sox are still feeling good having embarrassed the Yankees in 3 out of these 4 games. But that Sunday just gives you that almost false sense of hope if you're a Yankees fan when you do it on Sunday Night Baseball and there's more people watching and you defend. You said, no, we're not getting mopped today. Okay, the Yankees really stood up for themselves. But honestly, in this case, I'm not even really seeing that much optimism. And I think this lengthy spiral down to still a postseason spot, because again, the Yankees are generally taking care of business against bad teams. Their record against their fellow playoff teams this year is troublingly poor. They did snap this 8-game losing streak against the Red Sox on Sunday. But that is why, even as we look ahead at an easy schedule the rest of the way for the Yankees, and it's hard to imagine them missing the postseason, why would we believe for 1 second that this is a team that is a threat to go on a serious run in October? There is just so many things that are not working well for them. Even though you see the flashes of the talent in a game like Sunday, the Yankees just have so much to prove against teams that are actually their competition at this time of year.
They are currently 12-20 against the 5 other teams currently in playoff position in the American League. Their record against teams over 500 is fittingly 500, 34-34. And not to just be like, oh, vibes. Like this team does not intimidate or scare you right now as currently constructed. That being said, I'm a little bit more optimistic about the Yankees just because the offense is still generally really good. Like this is over the course of the full season, this is arguably the best offense in the league, right? And I think that if you enter the playoffs with the best offense in the league, you have a decent chance. Now, everything else does not inspire confidence. And not to sound like Aaron Boone, I just think that they have one more rise in them, like one more way, like 2 good weeks that's going to make everyone believe again. I do think that is coming. The biggest concerns I have with this team is currently constructed. Austin Wells, I know he has given a lot of playing time away to Ben Rice, who has been catching more and more. But Anthony Volpe, my second concern, his struggles have kind of shielded Austin Wells a little bit from what has been an incredibly disappointing season.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And we kind of, I think, highlighted Austin Wells coming into the year as someone that we were optimistic about, as someone that was going to take a step forward as clearly the catcher for the Yankees that could hit 25 homers and was clearly developing really quickly as a defender. And he's got a 260 on base, and that's not good enough. Now, it's much easier to accept when you do have other great hitters, including the best hitter. But right now, and especially with Judge still kind of coming back, we're dealing with a roster where they can't have all their best hitters in the lineup. And so that is applied to Stanton, that is now applied to Judge, that is now applied to Ben Rice when they haven't been able to get him in the lineup. And I guess, honestly, in some cases, it's applied to Trent Grisham, hilariously. So they just have this weird collection of hitters where, yes, on the right day, it's like, oh, man, who's slowing these guys down? But it is requiring, especially with this latest wrinkle of Judge's injury, this level of configuration that is not always super comfortable. Now, again, they're still putting up a bunch of runs. And if Stanton is able to even play a few times a week, your lineup's going to look pretty good. But this Judge thing is a massive deal, and it seems like he has started throwing. He has thrown in public, which is something. We can take something from that.
When's the last time you did that?
Through in front of that many people, yeah, that I don't know. It's been a long time. I have thrown a baseball not that long ago, but with that many people watching intently. Now, that said, the Yankees, as they always do with anything injury related, and no surprise that it is happening with the most important player, are not being super clear about when Aaron Judge will be back in the outfield again. But I mean, the fact that we are seeing him throw gives me some amount of confidence that this is something that is going to happen, because until that happened, I had no reason to believe we were definitely going to see him back in the outfield again. Truly, for all the optimism that he had expressed, now I think that will come, and that will open some things up. But the key is, because so many parts of their team are just shakier, it is going to be important for them to have this juggernaut offense, this juggernaut lineup. And that is one that includes Stanton. And that is one that probably includes Rice. And of course, one that includes Judge in the outfield.
Is there an argument to putting Judge in right and DHing Stanton and just not having Judge throw? Like, how many times a game do you need to make a competitive throw to a base as an outfielder on average? One? Now, I understand those come in big spots, and maybe late in the game you do some defensive rearranging. But, like, ball hit down the right field line. Trent Grisham, just, you're in center. Sprint. Get over there. Judge underhand flips it.
There's some precedent. Didn't this happen with Ozuna at some point?
Maybe. This just feels like the most extreme example. Like, having Stanton and Judge both in the lineup, like, the added value of Stanton 4 at-bats versus the other team getting 1 or 2 extra bases a game.
Well, that's the question, right? It is an interesting math problem that maybe they're doing, but I have to imagine Aaron Judge is not going to go out there until he feels like he can, or until they feel like he feels like he can make a play in a big spot, because the optics there are still a lot worse. And I don't think the Yankees are like willing to try something that ridiculous, to be honest.
No, I understand. I think that there is a team that would, because like the downside from a PR highlight perspective is enormous. If you have Judge like flipping a ball to Grisham and then he like, it could be disastrous. I understand that, but I think a weirder team would try it. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that Judge, there's just so much more at stake in terms of re-injury and whatnot, that like they're weighing more than just individual stuff. But all that said, let's not give the Yankees too much credit here, because they did lose 3 out of 4 here, and we'll flip it to the Red Sox. But I am with you on. But the problem is, and Yankees fans themselves are saying this, like, they're going to get fooled if they go and, kick the crap out of the White Sox and Twins and Orioles and whoever else, all the other bad teams they have left to play at the end of September. Now, they still have a tough schedule coming up before they get to that really easy slate at the end of the month. And so if they stumble here, I know they have Nats and White Sox coming up to finish August. Then it goes Astros, Blue Jays, Tigers, Red Sox. So like, that little run there is where we're going to really find out about them. But the problem is there's just nobody pushing them to really make them sweat in the American League wildcard race, except for, in this case, the Red Sox, who are in position to at least secure home field, right? I mean, this is really what the Yankees are probably playing for, even if they are going to be able to get into the postseason just by beating bad teams. The Red Sox have shown us, I think, a version of them that we can start to get excited about, while there were moments for the Yankees that looked more encouraging, what Fried did was really, really good to see for how much he's been struggling recently. Again, the best version of the Red Sox, when you have Crochet going and when you have Bayo throwing well, and obviously Giolito has been mostly good recently. It's a pretty good looking ball club, I would say, especially with Trevor Story. What Trevor Story has kind of turned into recently is really impressive. I would say the fact that he's no longer just a total nothing is really impressive. Again, there's still parts of that roster that I don't totally believe in either. But they looked like the better overall team this weekend, and that was not really particularly close. Like Dustin May is not going to be starting a postseason game, so
No.
It looked really bad last night, and I don't think that's ever going to be plan A in a game that they absolutely need to win.
As currently set, it would be Mariners, Astros in Houston, and Yankees, Red Sox in Boston for the AL wildcard series.
Stop the count. Stop the count. Let's do it. Let's just roll it out there. I mean, I don't know how much either the Mariners or the Yankees want that, but I think the neutral would certainly be enjoying that.
Now, before we move on, I do want to just hop back to Volpe for a second, because I just think that what's going on with him is so interesting. Every year, it feels like the Yankees fans pick a player to just emotionally eviscerate. We have seen this with Joey Gallo and Aaron Hicks and IKF and last year Trent Grisham, but he beat it. Okay. He fought back. He raged against it. It kind of happened with Josh Donaldson and DJ LeMahieu, but they were so hurt and bad. They weren't like breaking down a quality player, if that makes sense. That main character this year is Volpe. Now, he has invited a lot of the scorn and the criticism on himself, and we have now entered this very depressing death spiral where he just makes an error, people yell at him. 2 days later, he's clearly moving with the weight of those expectations. He makes another error, and it just compounds upon itself. Now, he puts some of those jeers, those boos, those concerns to rest after the All-Star break. Like, he was cooking in the 2 weeks after the All-Star break with a 1035 OPS and 7 home runs in his first 14 games after. Since then, he had a 4-hit day on August 1st. Since then, Anthony Volpe is 8 for 66 with 1 home run. That is a 121, 171, 242 batting line. He leads Major League Baseball in errors, and last night was effectively benched for Jose Caballero, shortstop on Sunday Night Baseball. And I think Volpe is just such an interesting character here. And I think that let's just tell the whole thing, right? Like, in camp in 2023, he makes the team when he's not expected to. And though he appeared relatively ready with his performance, he was good defensively that year. He hit 21 homers, stole 24 bags as a 22-year-old. The overall offensive line was not good. He wins a Gold Glove. Last year, he shows a couple, like, the defense gets even better. He shows a little bit more life with the bat. And now it's like, all right, he's 24. Let's go. It's time to prove it. And he has simply not done that. And I think that it all starts back in 2023, because when he shows up, Jordan, you'll have a better sense of this than I do. The reputation versus the actual prospect pedigree was pretty large. And this does happen with Yankees prospects sometimes, but people were expecting this guy to be an impact hitter where maybe that was never going to be the case. Can you kind of shed a little bit more light on that?
I mean, yes, I agree with what you're getting at, because the scouting did not suggest like, oh my God, he is about to be this, 30-30 game-changing offensive talent. But his minor league stats were outrageous. I mean, he and that lent enough, hype to where it was like, maybe he can be that. And the irony, of course, is that he kind of was doing it. He goes 2020 as a rookie. But so much of else besides those counting stats have been so bad and have effectively gotten worse that he's had enough of these slumps to where, as people have pointed out, among hitters that have played as much as Anthony Volpe over the last 3 years, he has essentially been the worst hitter in baseball or close to it. If you go by park adjusted numbers over a large sample, now part of that is that most hitters like that are not playing that often. That's what comes with being a Gold Glove shortstop, or at least what he was before. The defense, by all accounts, has backed up this year, and now you have a player that is no longer contributing meaningfully on either side of the ball. But because he had that track record, that is where you get the very staunch defense from Aaron Boone over and over and over and over.
I don't think I want to push back against the defense backing up. Like, it's way worse. Like, don't get me wrong, the defense is bad, right? But the numbers are bad because he's messing up easy plays, not like because he's gotten slower or worse at the other stuff. Like, if he's leading the league in errors. If you go through defensive metrics, how good you are at making the easiest plays has a bigger impact. Now, obviously, that's part of it. I'm not just like waving that away, but the player is still in here. I really do believe that. An MVP candidate is not in here, and maybe not even an all-star is in here. But like, he's still only 24, man. He's still only 24. Like, there are prospects that are younger, that are older than Anthony Volpe still. And okay, so here's a very random way to think about it. If Anthony Volpe was a prospect, where would he rank? Right? I know that's kind of a silly way to consider it.
No, but this is what's hard, because this is why the sample of 1,500 plate appearances,
it's a lot,
being one of the worst hitters is hard to swallow, because that's where it's harder to be like, oh, he's young. Oh, he's only 24. Oh, he's still, it's like, well, not that players cannot get better later in their career. This happens. It's just baseball, of course. But it's harder when you have that much of a sample size of a 280 on base. And it's just like, okay, this is going to require some serious changes. I also think narrative-wise, the biggest difference between, and I know you've brought this up a million times, but all those other guys were outsiders, right? All those other guys were brought in because the front office thought they would fit, and they either did for a little bit and then didn't, or they didn't immediately, or it was just like Anthony Volpe's the opposite of that. Anthony Volpe, for all the reasons that we understand, was supposed to be this next guy, not just because he was a first-round pick and was having these awesome minor league numbers, but because he was the guy from New Jersey who was a Yankees fan and wanted to be Derek Jeter and all these things. And so now he's holding expectations that come both on and off the field that clearly were probably unfair to begin with. But it's been a perfect storm, because you have had the organization defending him far beyond what you would probably expect for a player that's performing this poorly for this long. Does that mean that they should DFA him? No, but it does put them in an interesting spot. I mean, the other part that I think is like, is this outsized? One, is it this important? Yes, because he's the shortstop. Is it this important because he's still batting 7th, 8th, or 9th? Should I care that much that he has a 280 on base if he can make the routine play? Probably not. But when you're the shortstop of the Yankees, that's just part of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't really know where this goes from here. I don't know.
The defense is the thing, because you can swallow the rest of it if he's making plays at short, and he's just simply not doing that this year. And it's just so bad. But just for some context, I know you make a great point about the sample size. I mean, he's essentially a month older than Spencer Jones, right? He is 4 months older than Alex Freeland, who just got called up by the Dodgers. And I just think that there is more time here for Anthony Volpe to become something. Does the runway exist in New York? Like, if you're the Yankees and Trevor Story opts out, like, you have to think about that. You have to. I think that entering camp next year, and I think this is the most substantial change, entering camp next year, the job should not automatically belong to Anthony Volpe, right? I think that is what should change.